Rethinking Indian lunch and dinner in 2026. This is not about abandoning Indian food. It's about returning to its original logic: home cooked meals, balance, portion control, and daily movement. We will apply the US Dietary Guidelines 2025 to 2030 to typical Indian meals, both vegetarian and non vegetarian, and adapt them for modern metabolic health challenges such as insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and obesity. The focus will be on eating fewer times, not constantly grazing. Protein first, followed by healthy fats and fiber. Minimizing refined starches and sugar. Respecting portion sizes. Walking after meals and maintaining muscle mass. Sleeping well and managing stress. Indian food is not the problem. How often, how much, and how processed it has become is the issue. This presentation aims to give practical, cultural, respectful guidance that anyone can follow in real life. Compiled by Dr. Siva Navaratnam and ChatGPT, my educational partner. I would also like to thank my children, Dinan and Jazara, for helping me in the production of this video. Why rethink Indian lunch and dinner? Indian food has nourished generations for centuries. The cuisine itself is not broken. What has changed is our modern lifestyle. We eat larger portions. We eat more frequently, rely more on refined grains and oils. We move less, sleep poorly, and drink more alcohol. These changes drive insulin resistance, which sits at the center of diabetes, fatty liver, weight gain, and even poor sleep quality. This presentation is not about rejecting Indian food, it's about adapting it intelligently to today's metabolic realities. By adjusting portion size, meal timing, food order, and movement, Indian meals can once again support good health. What has changed over time? When we compare modern eating patterns to how previous generations lived, several important shifts become clear. First, our staple foods have become more refined. Polished rice, refined flour now dominate meals. Second, portion sizes have increased, and many people eat more often from morning to late night. Third, protein has moved from center of the plate to the side, while starch has become the main component. Add to this the rise of processed foods for convenience, less daily movement, and little or no walking after meals. Finally, increased screen time, especially at night, damages sleep, which further worsens insulin resistance and appetite control. These are not small lifestyle changes. Together, they explain much of the rise in diabetes, fatty liver, weight gain, and poor energy levels we see today. The US dietary guidelines are often misunderstood as being anti-culture or restrictive. In reality, they are principle-based, not prescriptive. First, the guidelines emphasize adequate protein intake, roughly 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram per day, adjusted for age, muscle mass, and activity level. Second, they prioritize whole foods, especially vegetables, and recommend reducing reliance on ultra-processed foods and added sugars. Importantly, the guidelines stress flexibility and personalization. They are not one fit size all and can be adapted to cultural eating patterns, including Indian vegetarian and non-vegetarian meals. When applied correctly, these principles align well with traditional Indian home cooking, especially when protein is prioritized and portions are respected. Principles for Indian lunch and dinner. When we translate the US dietary guidelines into Indian meals, the message becomes very simple. First, protein comes first. This helps control hunger, stabilize insulin, and protect muscle mass, especially as we age. Second, vegetables provide fiber and volume, slowing glucose absorption and improving gut health. Third, healthy fats are included, but in moderation. They improve satiety, and excess fat combined with refined starch can worsen insulin resistance. Fourth, starch portions are smaller. Rice, roti, and grains become a side, not the base of the plate. Finally, dinners should be earlier and lighter. This supports better sleep, lower nighttime insulin, and improved metabolic recovery. These are not new ideas. They reflect how traditional Indian meals were eaten before constant snacking and oversized portions became common. Let's now look at realistic Indian lunch and dinner examples. These are not special diets. They're everyday Indian meals, eaten differently. A typical plate might include 1 or 2 rotis paired with meat, fish, paneer or dal, rather than rotis being the main calorie source. Yogurt or curd, especially vegetables, adds protein, probiotics, and helps with satiety. Vegetables should be cooked traditionally, not ultra-processed, not deep-fried, but sauteed, steamed, or lightly spiced. For banana leaf meals, the key idea is simple: protein and vegetable first, with rice as a small side, not the center of the leaf. If rice is included, cooled or overnight cooked rice may reduce glucose spike for some people. This approach keeps Indian food culturally intact while supporting better insulin control and digestion. This is an important clarification. Foods like roti, rice, dosa, and idli are not inherently bad. They are traditional foods that have nourished generations. The issue today is how often they are eaten and how much is eaten at one time and what they are paired with. Eating large portions of starch on their own or late at night can cause large insulin spikes, especially in people with insulin resistance. When starch is eaten in smaller portions, paired with protein, vegetables, and healthy fats, the metabolic impact is very different. For people with insulin resistance, these details matter more, not less. The aim is better timing, better portions, and better combinations, not fear of traditional foods. The key message to remember is this: the solution is not abandoning Indian food. The solution is returning to its original logic: simple meals, eating fewer occasions, and daily movement. Eat fewer times, not constantly throughout the day. Eat cooked, home-prepared meals, not ultra-processed, convenient meals. At each meal, prioritize protein first. Add vegetables for fiber, then healthy fats in moderation. Respect portion sizes, especially for rice, roti, and grains. Walk after meals whenever possible and include muscle strengthening exercise 2 to 3 times a week. Aim at least 7,000 steps per day and finish dinner early enough to allow 7 to 8 hours of sleep. If you remember one practical rule, remember this order: protein first, fiber next, fats for balance. This is not complicated nutrition. It is traditional wisdom supported by modern science. Thank you for watching.